Hi guys, hope you are having a sunny day today. I am back with 2 stories today. First one is about OP's sister, who got fired because she was hitting on OP's husband. Enjoy the stories, guys, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment. Also, please check out today's new video on my new channel in the description box below. Enjoy! I, 25 female, was an unplanned pregnancy, as my parents only ever budgeted for one child, my sis, 36 female. I know this because growing up, my sis would always bring it up whenever she was denied anything due to our financial situation, which would then be preceded by her breaking my toys. When I turned 17, she all of a sudden had a boyfriend. Her and my mother started planning a wedding for 4 weeks. It wasn't until my uncle asked to meet this boyfriend that my sister starts crying. From my bedroom door, I hear the full story. My sister, 28 at the time, had met this random guy at a mutual friend's party and hooked up. Then he ghosted her. For the next few months, it was like the whole house was in mourning. My parents completely forgot about my high school graduation. I, using the funds saved up since I was 15, moved across the country and went completely no contact. I met my now husband, same age as me. We will call him Alex. After we were married, Aunt had told me that in the time that I've been away, my parents had come to realize their mistakes and now wanted a fresh start. After a few months of light chatting with my family, we planned a small get-together in November 19. Awkward, but this all came to a head when my sis showed up. As soon as she opens the door, she stands there in shock. Alex? Alex. Hello, I'm OP's sis. I can't believe you're here. How did you find me? Dad stands up and says, "This is OP's Alex." My sis starts saying that this is the guy that ghosted her when she was 28. Alex starts shaking his head. She starts screaming. We exit. Later on, my husband starts trying to put the pieces together. He said that he was in the state visiting his fam and had gone to the party. He does remember a girl feeding him shots, even though he told her that he was underage. He said that he doesn't know if it was my sister and doesn't remember much else. My mother called me and asked me to leave because I hurt sis. I left and was going to move on. My sis started sending Alex messages on social media. We found out that she even moved to our city before restrictions were put in place. Works remotely. She made posts on her social media saying that I stole the love of her life and cropped me out of photos of us two together to put herself in there. Alex was beyond fed up and blocked her, but I don't know. Maybe all the years of neglect finally got to me. On sis' public account, under her most recent post, I put a comment on there stating that if she didn't leave Alex alone, I was going to file a restraining order, and I went into detail on how at 28, she got my 17-year-old husband so drunk that he was not able to consent before she took advantage of him. Apparently, someone from her company screenshot the comment and passed around the office. According to my aunt, sister got fired after cussing at and sending nasty emails to the woman that took the screenshot. Uncle says I went too far due to economic situation. OP is definitely not an a-hole. OP didn't get her fired. Her actions, and then her reactions to the woman who felt it was concerning enough information, got her fired. She sounds like she's been jealous of OP from day one, and being no contact is the best thing all around. The first 10 years of my parents' marriage were pretty normal as far as I could see. In 2005, my father tried to break up in a kind of midlife crisis once. My mother guilt-tripped him into staying, and he did, under the agreement that he could go on solo holidays every once in a while. To sum up the last 10 years, Dad worked overtime and shifts a lot, and we had our problems with money anyway. It was weird, and maybe obvious, but I didn't really notice back then. Fast forward September 2015. My father told me that he wants to break up, but this time for real. He told me a week before he told my mom. I was still living at home, and this week was hell for me. A big part of me as a person consists of being absolutely open and honest about everything, especially to persons I trust. My mom always was a person to trust for me, and much like a last straw, if something in my life went really down the hole, and this would have been a moment I really needed her. But my dad blocked that option for me as he wanted to tell it to her himself. Every single time I saw my mom in this week, I felt incredibly bad for her that I knew and she didn't. Said week later, he told her, and she broke down. Dad was the love of her life and still is until today, and he broke her heart. She was very understanding and let him go, and they agreed about not divorcing, tax reasons. Him still doing repairs on the house on a weekly basis and letting her live in the house without any costs while he moves out. Mom got in a fragile state of mind since then. 2 weeks after the breakup, I nearly died all of a sudden. Mom's world broke down again. Thank God I recovered. But it was a real slow process, and my mom was in permanent worry about me. In this time, my dad introduced me to his girlfriend, S, 42 female. He invited me in her apartment that he moved into with her, and she was drunk, middle of the day, and smoked a lot, which was really unlikable for me. Trying to recover my lungs didn't make it better. November 2015, I nearly died to the same thing for the second time. With doctors calling out my parents they should come to the hospital because they were not sure if I would survive the night. Mom got in a huge argument with my dad because he didn't come over. I never forgave him that he wasn't there. Maybe not for my morphine-pumped self, but at least for my mom having the worst night of her life. I began to recover slowly, and my mom was in a super fragile state of mind, crying a lot and reaching out to me to talk about the breakup because she didn't want to tell her friends. I had enough to do with handling the breakup of my parents and my close-to-death experiences, so I couldn't bear my mom's pain as well, as bad as I wanted to help her. Dad saw the situation from outside and offered me to move out and pay for my rent. I took the chance and moved closer to my university and loved the feeling to finally stand on my own feet. My mom hates to be alone with all the memories in our family house, but with time passing by, I slowly have the feeling she coped with it as my dad and I visit her regularly. He broke up with his girlfriend S by that time because they got in an argument about her being drunk and breaking his coffee machine. April 2016. My dad introduced me to his girlfriend of today, R, 56 female, and her family. Her 3 kids are about my age, and I really like those people and love to see my father so happy with her. I know that Mom doesn't know about her, but we didn't want to pull Mom out of her own world due to her fragile state and think it's better this way. Fast forward last weekend and the huge plot twist. My boyfriend, 24 male, and I were invited over to R's birthday. Everything was fine and we had a good time, and all of a sudden R pulled out an album of photographs of a family vacation in 2008. The album contained photos of my dad on a family vacation with another woman, with another family. 10 years ago. I had a hard time to cope the situation and not breaking out in tears in desperation in front of all of them. The man I respected so much for always working so hard wasn't working overtime. He was with another family. It just feels like the last 10 years with my family were a complete lie. And you don't go on a family vacation if you just got together. My guess is they got together when my dad tried to break up for the first time. Just with the small difference that he stayed and pretended that everything was fine. He had a whole double life with a second family. The man I respect the most in my life for what he is and does not only cheated, what is a huge no-go for me, but was much worse. He constantly lied about pretty much everything. Where he goes, why we don't have any money, everything. And what about the former girlfriend S? Did he cheat with her on R? How much does she know? Does she know my mom doesn't know? I didn't have the courage yet to talk to my dad about this and ask questions. There are so many questions in my head, and I even messed up my recent exams due to this. I feel so incredibly bad for my mom, and the worst thing is that I can't tell her. At first, it's absolutely not my job to tell her, sure, but I feel so horribly guilty for knowing this while she doesn't. Or does she, and just never told me? I have no idea. If it hit me already that hard, how bad will it be for her? For me, it was a childhood. For her, a 20-year marriage. I don't even know how to feel about this. It would be so much easier if I didn't love both my mom and my dad, and this second family as well. The worst for me, that sounds so selfish, is that I'm not able to talk with the person that always helped and was there for me when everything went down the hole, because it would probably hurt her even more than me. My gut feeling says I need distance from my family, but I'm not sure if that will help. I don't know how to deal with the whole situation. In my opinion, OP needs to speak with a therapist, like as soon as possible. It's hard to process and accept that parents are just human after all. Finding out the flaws of our parents can be so difficult. And this one, well, this is a doozy. Showing OP the photo album was insensitive. He should have never brought OP into that situation without preparing for a very likely outcome that OP'd find out. OP's mom needs professional help as well. It's good of OP to want to support her and love her, but OP is her daughter, and she cannot be responsible for how she processes this. Everyone needs counseling. Mom, dad, OP, and maybe there are other kids involved. Update. Found out mom was pretty manipulative and controlling all along, and living in denial about everything she didn't like. Decided not to tell her the truth. Got a chance to work in Dream Company far from home, and the distance is the best thing that could happen to me. Dad loves and supports me in everything I do. It is almost 20 years now, and not only 10. What you guys told me and how I felt about it. So, the most of you guys advised me to tell my mom and get therapy for both of us, as well as a divorce for my mom. I tried to follow this idea, but honestly, it didn't feel right to me, and I felt like it's A, not my job to do this, and B, not my right to pop her bubble she lives in. Point B is pretty important because my mom tends to live in her own bubble. It got worse since my dad moved out because she can't deny that he's gone. Dad and I decided a long time ago, 10 years or so, that we don't rip her out of her own little world and let her live in denial. Also, because arguing with her is pointless, and I do mean pointless. If she has another point than you can talk as well to a wall. Logic doesn't work here. Something I realized about my mom that surprised me as well. Some days after posting, I stumbled upon R raised by narcissist, and guess what? I found my mom. Narcissist player, completely absorbing the being a mother personality, even going far enough to make me sick as a child to have a reason she can't go to work and be a full-time mother. But that's another story on its own. Hanging around with the lovely mom of my boyfriend, I realized a lot of what I experienced and knew is not just the usual mom behavior, and that my mom is some kind of master of guilt tripping. I'm her victim. Basically, my whole life I felt guilty because I tended to like my dad more than my mom, and I never understood what's going on. But seeing both their behaviors in a third person's perspective was a real eye-opener. I learned that my mom was and is a manipulative and controlling person, and I understand why visiting her is always exhausting, both my boyfriend and me. Boyfriend saw and told me what I couldn't see, or didn't want to see. And all I thought was like, well, she's still my mom, so it's my duty. In retrospect, it seems like Dad always wanted to protect me from her. That's still confusing to understand now with 25. Hell, how should I have understood what's going on as a child? So, what about my dad? You maybe already got an idea why he rather lead a double life and keep it all secret. He didn't want to leave me alone, yet alone with my mom. I reached out to him after the birthday party to talk, and he was happy I did. As we sat at the table and talked about it, he was very calm and apologized to me that my feelings were so crushed by this. He never intended to hurt me and didn't think it would be a surprise for me at all, since I was always a smart kid. And how can one not see something is wrong with their parents sleeping in separate beds? I told him that it's hard to see for a child that doesn't know it better, and he apologized again, that he didn't think of that, and he felt really bad for me. He also confessed I'm the person he trusts and loves the most, and that's the reason he wanted me to know, and let me be a bigger part of his world. Oh, and an interesting bit of info. R and him have their 20-year anniversary next year. Holy hell! So many wrong decisions were made here. Regarding the relationship stuff, I really feel sorry for him and am finally able to understand why he always told me to take my time knowing someone before thinking about getting a child. Anecdotal, I was an accident. He knew her 2 months when she got pregnant, but she always told him she took birth control. What I did last month and where I am now. I didn't tell my mom. At this point, I don't see the sense in telling her. She will deny it anyway. I know my mom. I love her despite what she did to me and still does, and it doesn't make sense to hurt her with the truth. Deep down, I feel she knows it anyway and knew all along. I guess an adult does notice that sleeping in separate beds isn't the norm and still denies it. There's no need to rip her out of denial this deep. I did talk about it with other adults, my physician being one of them. He told me that my gut feeling is right, and before I consult a therapist, I should consider taking my time and my distance from it all and see how I feel, since he also confirmed that going to a therapist in Germany has some consequences for some work fields. He said he has the impression that I sorted my thoughts well enough to handle this and that I'm not left alone with this. Bit of interesting info here. Every person that knew my mom personally advised to not tell her and that it wouldn't make any sense. I decided that both my parents are adults and old enough to handle their relationship alone. That was a huge one, and honestly, I think this is the point I made my first step into getting over it and distancing myself from this mess. As far as I can say, it helped. I got an apprenticeship in my dream job at Dream Company, roughly 220 miles from home. Doesn't sound like a lot, but the physical distance is a huge relief because I'm just not tangible anymore. A nice side effect. Even though I'm working more hours per week, from 20 hours to 35 hours, I started to excel in my studies. At that point, I think it might be about all the distractions and worry I got at home. Since I'm here, I come home, am able to concentrate at my stuff I have to learn, then go out for a walk, come home and cook a healthy meal for boyfriend and me, sleep early. I feel so much better overall. Seeing what it is like to work in my dream job might be a little motivator too. So what helped me all along was distance. Mostly the physical distance, since I don't feel bad about it, even if my mom still tries to guilt trip me every other day. But that's the point. I just turn off my phone and enjoy my life and make the best out of it. There is absolutely no reason one should feel bad about taking the chance to work in their dream job, in Dream Company. And if whoever doesn't respect that, didn't understand that the world doesn't gravitate around him or her, and most importantly, that your kids are their own persons, with their own wishes and goals, and shouldn't be pressured into fulfilling wishes and goals you weren't able to make. Some last words about my health, since a lot of you are concerned how I am doing health-wise. What led me to almost dying was a big chain of unfortunate events and mistakes made by medical professionals. Unfortunately, it does affect me to this day, and always will, because 10% of my lung tissue died in the process, and I have to take lifelong medication. Coumarin, to make my blood clot slower to be exact, to avoid it happening again. Don't worry, I'm fine. Had my point of no return in March 2017, where I decided that I don't want to live the rest of my life depressed in a bed, and went my way. Lost 25 kilograms, 55 pounds. Got my skin nice and clear and changed my overall being.